And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure of the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and to everyone that's joining us tonight, I want to say thank you because this episode was originally scheduled for Tuesday night at the normal time, or I should say the normal day. However, due to circumstances beyond control, we had to reschedule, and so thank you all for tuning in and joining us tonight. I can guarantee you tonight's episode is going to be full of some really great information, and we've been talking backstage, and in full transparency, I'm going to tell you, you guys are in for a huge treat. We're going to have lots of fun tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing guest who is going to share some really cool information and some experiences of her own. So I'm going to turn it over to the one, the only conscious contact extraordinaire, Gina. And I am so sorry. I'm going to guess your last name is pronounced Splettstaszer, but nope, I totally just butchered that.
Oh, you're so close. So close. No, it's Splettstaszer. Yeah, it's extra super German. It's very German. So
I have a German last name. I should be able to pronounce that.
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna go hide in the corner now.
Yeah, better go back to, I don't know. Go back to, I don't even know. Anyway, hi everybody.
I never went to German school, so
I was like a German spelling school. I don't know. Yeah. So my name's Gina, and it's super duper great to be here. I'm really excited. Michael is such a nice guy. Everybody, he's a very kind and nice person. And the other day I had a crazy migraine, and so I couldn't be here, but I'm here today, and so I'm super excited. So yeah.
Very cool. And just for full transparency, I don't have to send her a check for that compliment.
Absolutely free.
So why don't you give the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do that may not be familiar?
Alrighty. Well, I am a healer. I guess people call it a metaphysician, an energy worker. I have a business that I do kind of intuitive guidance. I'm working with a little bit of like medical intuition sort of stuff. I have my own modality that was given to me a few years ago by my teams, my guides. And it's kind of just this inner tech that I use that helps people to clear out their fields. It helps people kind of, I've been able to work on the physical level with people, the emotional level, the mental level. It's been really helpful for people, and I'm blessed to be able to work with people. And so I do that, but I also have a podcast called Ether Flows Podcast, and it's kind of the same thing that Michael does. I do interviews with people that I find randomly, or I just, people that I think are really amazing, have had really incredible experiences, or, something super special about them. And I have these conversations about interdimensionality, multidimensionality, unity consciousness, uh, contact with other beings, all sorts of stuff, grid work, energy. And yeah, so that's what I do. I also live in the woods of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan next to Lake Superior, and I get to hang out with lots of multidimensional beings. It's really fun.
Very cool. And so, was metaphysics something that you chose to get into, or do you feel like you were kind of born into it and been doing it ever since you can remember?
I have some memories of other lives that I've had where I was a healer. And so I think that's part of what this modality is that was given to me. It was like from a different life. And so it just kind of turns on. It's really it's really crazy. Like, I'll go out into the woods, and if land needs to be cleared, or if, grid work needs to be done, sometimes it'll just come on automatically, and I'll feel my whole body start to vibrate, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm clearing the land. But yeah, I do feel like I was always interested in metaphysics and esoteric knowledge, unexplained mysteries, all the mystery shows on, the X-Files, and all the mystery, what was it? In Search of, with Leonard Nimoy. I was a huge fan of that when I was a kid. Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, ghosts, sleigh lines, all sorts of stuff. I was a real bookworm when I was a kid, so I just had all of the like Time Life paranormal books, and yeah, I just was always really into that, and I didn't really know why until later in life. I think a lot of this stuff was from other lives. So yeah.
So, do you think the way you kind of approach things is why you're able to get into the interdimensional and multidimensionality aspect of everything?
Do you mean just like winging it?
Well, being like, looking at books and then going, wait a minute, maybe there's something more. And so it kind of opened your mind up to the possibility of like interdimensional and multidimension aspects versus just sitting there going, oh, yes, the making, ET or spirit, or not spirit, but oh, my mind is going blank right now. A star beam would be possible. Where, if you didn't read a book, you'd be like, yeah, no, I don't think so.
I mean, I was such a weird kid. Ever since I was very small, I was kind of a loner, and kind of just always, I have a lot of memories when I was a kid of like nighttime friends coming over and like teaching me how to fly in my first parents' house. I would like fly around the house, and I could see my parents in their room, and just I had all of these, really, thinking back on it now, these really weird experiences, but I thought it was pretty normal. But with like parents divorcing and like childhood trauma and stuff like that, at about, I would say, age 12 or so, I kind of put all that away and was like, okay, everything's normal. I'm totally normal, everybody, like nothing to see here, and kind of put it all on the back shelf. And but it was always kind of there. I was always interested in that sort of stuff. And it didn't really come back to me until I would say 2018, 2019. I had been a chef for about 20 years. I was working in kitchens and just like super angry, kind of hated my life at the time. Just was like, just push through it with everything, just go home, drink some beer, watch some Netflix, go to bed, get up, go back to work. And I feel like after so many years of that, my body just started breaking down, and I had to get like bilateral carpal tunnel surgery and surgery on my elbows and chiropractic adjustments all the time. And I started getting these migraines, like chronic migraines. And I didn't realize that it was, all this like repressed emotional energy and all of this other stuff that I hadn't dealt with. And so it was kind of manifesting in a physical way. And I was just like, I just thought I was wearing my body out. So I finally, I tried like uh, different migraine medications, and we couldn't figure, my doctors and I could not figure out the cause of these migraines, and like getting surgery and all this stuff. And finally, I just in desperation, I decided to go to a Reiki person. I had no idea what Reiki was. I didn't know. I was just like, oh, this hippie crap. Okay, I guess I'll try it. Like nothing else is working and I can barely stand. So I guess I'll try this Reiki stuff. And I ended up contacting this woman who is, she lives in Chicago. And I was living in Detroit at the time. I had just found her randomly from the Theosophical Society channel on YouTube. And she was speaking, and I was like, wow, this lady's really cool. I'll check her out. Turns out she did Reiki and all sorts of other like ancestral healing stuff. And so I started working with her, and probably like the fourth session in, I want to say, I felt kind of a slight tickling at the top of my head. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. And I went to sleep. And as I was going to sleep that night, I was in that in between phase of like, being out of consciousness, and just kind of all of a sudden, I felt and I heard this intense vibration that was like, it felt like I sat on a car battery or something. It was like, and I heard it in my ears. It was like, and it woke me up. It scared the crap out of me. I was like, what is that? And I I tried to go back to sleep, and it happened again. And I didn't know what to do. It happened a couple of times in that same week. So I emailed the woman and I told her about what was happening. And she was like, oh, it's okay, dear. It's just your root chakra. It's really congested. So it's nothing to worry about. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I didn't know anything about clairsentience, or, I knew there was like clairvoyance and sometimes you can hear stuff. I didn't know there was such a thing as being able to feel energy. And so that kind of just like broke the dam. And all of a sudden I can like put my hand up in the air and feel energy from the sun, and like I'm feeling the earth and I'm feeling everybody else. And it was really overwhelming. And at around the same time, I was still living in Detroit. My family and I went on vacation to Traverse City, which is a small town in kind of upper lower Michigan, right on the edge of Lake Michigan, which is, there's whole books on that lake. It is so full of bizarre energy, and it's a beautiful, amazing place. But anyway, I didn't know anything about that. I was just like, let's go on vacation. And so we rented an Airbnb right across the street from the lake. And I was sitting outside in the dark looking at the stars, because I'd grown up in cities. I'd never really seen a very dark sky. So there were so many stars out, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And all of a sudden I look, and a big orb shoots out of this tree and goes over the roof of the house. And I was like, what the heck? What the heck was that? And I look above me, and there's this giant sparkly orb or ship, or I don't know what it was. It looked like it was like a giant plasma ball, and it's like a sparkler, and it just slowly moves over my head and across the lake. And it took a couple minutes to get, to where I couldn't see it anymore. It went across the lake. And I think that moment just kind of, it was like before that and then after in my life. And I went back in the house and my wife was like, "How was stargazing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's fine. It was fine. Nothing to see here." Like I was in total shock. And after that vacation, the phenomena followed me back to Detroit, and I started seeing orbs in my backyard. I would see it started out at first with this big, it looked like the Booga sphere. Is that what it's called? Like the big metal ball. Have you heard of that?
I know what you're talking about, and I'm not sure if it's Booga
They
is the
found it in
word
like
for it.
South America. It's like Buga. Anyway, I was in my living room one day and I looked out the window and there was this like metal ball just hanging out in the sky above a tree. And at the
It is
time,
the Booga sphere.
I didn't even know what a drone looked like. So I was like, maybe that's a drone. I don't know what that is. But it was metal and I could like see parts, like pieces of it were, glimmering in the sun, and it just hung out there for a good, I want to say like 8 minutes. And, I was like walking around the house doing chores and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's still up there. That's weird." I didn't know what to think about it. So that was something weird that happened. But then after that, I started seeing like more of those plasma lights and like just orbs that looked, they felt like they had an intelligence to them. Like you could, when you look at them, it's like your heart chakra starts buzzing and you're like, "Oh, okay, there's something's going on there." But I would see them in the daytime. I saw them at night. I would see like big flashes in the sky. And one day I came out into my backyard in the middle of the day. And this is in Detroit proper. It's like a mile away from the casino from downtown. And I look above and there's like a big black triangle in the sky hanging out above my backyard. And I was just like, what the what is going on? And I'm just like, "Hey guys." And then it kind of hangs out for a second and then it rotates like 90 degrees and just like turns the other direction and slowly floats away. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm losing my mind." Like, I wasn't telling any of my family any of this at the time because I was like, I have no clue what is happening right now. And I started seeing like, there were like black helicopters that would come over the house. And I mean, there was a lot of that stuff anyway. Like, police were doing sweeps because of like people driving around crazy in Detroit. So who knows? But I saw this like a couple of times. I saw this big orange sphere that would like float. I thought it was the sun at first, but it's like moving. And I'm like, "Oh, that's not the sun." And then I saw a helicopter chase it away. It was like the craziest stuff I had ever seen in my life in Detroit. And at the same time, I started getting, information from like guides and different beings and stuff. And finally, I just had to like kind of come out to my wife. I was like crying in bed one day and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I think I'm going crazy. I'm seeing all this crazy stuff and I'm feeling energy and hearing stuff. And I don't know what to do." And she's like, "Girl, you've always been crazy. Don't worry about it." Like it's not that big of a deal. We can deal with it. I was thinking that she was going to like leave me or something. I can't tell my family. This is such a crazy secret. But that was like the most freeing thing that I did actually, was start to talk to my friends and my family about it. So,
well, that's cool, but I think every Reiki master needs you for their slogans. When all else fails, do the hippie crap.
Yeah.
Do the Reiki. Best banner ever.
Blasted. Right.
Like everybody will be lining up to, come experience that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was intense. So let me see what else.
Well,
So Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's interesting because I have another friend who's a medium that does kind of medical intuitive readings. And so I'm kind of curious, was trying to figure out your headaches what drove you into learning how to be a medical intuitive, or did that come from that experience, or how did you get an aha moment to going, ooh, medical intuitive, I can
Mm.
do that, let's do that?
Well, again, I think it comes back to like early childhood and maybe doing this in other lifetimes. Like, I have a funny little side story. One of my best friends, who I went to kindergarten with this guy. I've known him forever. He has a story that I barely remember this happening. I have a vague memory of this happening, but he was like, "Hey, Gina, do you remember that time in second grade when you stayed after school to play with the chicken liver?" And I'm like,
What?
"What?" Well, it turns out, so I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, and I don't know why my teacher thought this was a good idea. The rules must have been a little looser back then, because she brought in like it was either a raw chicken or a raw turkey, like a store-bought carcass from, the grocery store. I don't know why. We did all sorts of weird stuff. We like dissected cows' eyes when I was in 4th grade. Like that seems really young to be doing that stuff. But anyway, she brought in this like chicken or turkey carcass and was showing it to us because, this is how I don't know, this is here are the insides. Here's how this thing works. And they come with like the packet of giblets. And I opened the packet and I just was fascinated. And I just was playing. I missed my bus because I was playing with this packet of giblets after school was over. And I've always been really fascinated with anatomy, you know, uh, with like the skeletal system and with all everything, all the body's different systems. And so I didn't really, it's not like I consciously was like, oh, I want to get into medical intuition. uh I was working with some different practitioners and they were like, oh, hey, you have this gift that you're not aware of, where you can go into someone's astral field and look and like scan them, and you can see all the stuff that's wrong with them. And so I'm at the point right now where I can go into another person's field and like scan their body, and I can see points that light up. So I'm not super skilled at it yet. I'm still learning, but yeah, it's really incredible.
No, that's cool. And I'm just picturing your parents getting a phone call. Can you please come pick up your daughter? She's playing with the giblets.
Oh yeah. No,
And
that's pretty
it's
normal for my parents to receive a call like that. I did all sorts of crazy stuff when I was a kid. I had some neighbors that they were big into hunting. They would go like duck hunting in the fall and stuff. And I asked them one time if I could keep the mallard wings, and I kept them in the breezeway of my house the entire winter. This was like I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. I was really young. But I would go outside and like before school and just kind of play with the wing because the feathers were pretty, and you could still like the joints, I don't know, it was so weird. It was I don't know.
yeah,
I was
but
a strange kid.
it's actually not so strange because we were in the generation of pre-internet, so
Mm,
we had to entertain ourselves, and we learned so many things. We developed and coined the term street smarts because we were outside on the streets learning stuff
yep,
and
latchkey kids.
playing outside and learning all this stuff hands on. And yeah, I personally didn't like go and keep duck wings, and as a kid, but hey, everybody entertains themselves in different ways, and I'm just glad to hear that you weren't like putting them on your back and trying to figure out if they would work. Flying off a roof and
Yeah.
going, they work for the bird. Why not me?
Right. Yeah. No, nothing like that. But just like I've always had a fascination with bodies and yeah. So I think that's kind of where that kind of comes from. But yeah, I think a lot of this stuff for me comes from other lifetimes because it kind of all of it was kind of dormant until, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So,
And that brings up an interesting point of I'm just now thinking about like you are open to multidimensionality, interdimensions, Sasquatch, the Fae, ETs. I am as well, and we don't question it as much. And we were the generation before the internet. So I wonder if the internet has kind of blocked people from being aware of and making it harder for them because they're so glued to the internet that they don't pay attention to the real world around them.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, probably to some extent. I didn't get a computer until I was about 30 or a cell phone. I didn't have any of that stuff until I was pretty old. But I found that I don't read books as much. I'm always like multitasking now where I feel like I didn't do that as much before. I'm kind of like skimming the surface of things, not really able to focus quite as well. And I do feel like a lot of that kind of comes from having a phone and having technology in your face all the time. But then there's also the subject of like the crystal children and the younger generations that are I've met some of these kids and they have incredible abilities and they are incredibly high vibrational and just so I don't know. Maybe it's just situational.
It could be. And so, what was your first encounter with the Fae like, and how did it like impact you?
Hmm. Do you include like the Sasquatch people as the Fae in the Fae realm?
I can, but I view Sasquatch as Sasquatch beings, Fae as incorporating like your fairies, pixies, elves, dwarves,
Hmm.
leprechauns, kind of more the Irish Fae than,
Mm. Well,
and
I
so,
think I think they all exist in kind of round about the same dimension. That's kind of like I think anyway. I'm no expert. But let me see. What was my first? So when I was a kid, uh, I told you I had this nighttime visitor that would come and teach me how to do stuff. And I don't know if he was from the elemental realm or if he was a galactic. I don't know. But he looked almost exactly like ET, which, um, just to age myself, I was born in 1977. And this was happening in, I think I was about 3 years old when this happened. So this was 1980. And I know I didn't see that movie until at least I want to I don't think it came out until 1982. I want to say 81 or
yeah, I
82.
think it was
But I know
it
I
was
didn't
early '80s. Yeah,
yeah, I know I didn't see that movie until I was out of until we had moved out of that house where I had those experiences. And I'm not sure what he was, but it was some being that came to me and he said his name was Lotkeel and he showed me how to like float around and stuff. So that could have been my first experience, but other than that, it hasn't really been so much of a physical thing with the Fae. It's been more of connecting, like channeling energy and connecting in that sort of way. So I don't know, I would say 2020, 2021 was probably when I started connecting with them more.
No, that's really cool. And just FYI, you're only 1 year older than me. I was
Oh yeah.
78. So
Awesome.
that's why it's like, yeah, I think our youths were so similar. There's only 1 year apart.
Mm, yeah.
But
I'm sure you were outside a lot too when you were a kid.
oh yeah. And what's interesting though is, like you mentioned elemental and fae, and I was on a show this afternoon about elementals, and one of the speakers on the panel kept saying, "Oh, the fae, being the elementals," and I was like, "No, the elementals are not fae. They're two different species or two different cultures."
Mm. Oh
And
yeah.
so I was curious your thoughts on that too, if you feel that way as well.
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, you have the gnomes, their own culture. You have the little people, they have their own culture. I mean, it's regional too. Like you have the Fae and the little people and the gnomes in Ireland, and then I mean, they're up here too. I haven't had as much contact with them because I feel like up here there's a large the culture is all about logging and mining, which I feel like we do so much damage to the land when we are extracting minerals and cutting down the trees and everything, and just showing disregard and disrespect for the land in general. So I feel like these guys probably don't want to hang out with us very much. And that's the sense that I've gotten. I've had a few experiences with them up here, but they feel more kind of reserved. So, but yeah, I mean, there's brownies, there's leprechauns, there's the tree people, like the tree beings. I've had a lot of experiences with them. They're beautiful, and I would say that's probably the most interaction I've had is with the different tree beings.
Yeah, because the way I was looking at it and we were talking about it is, and some of the panel was agreeing with me, is they tend the nature. They nurture the nature, but the elementals are the ones that they're protecting the portals, the energies, and nature. And I don't know, I kind of feel like, you know, the loggers and, the mineral people, they seem to be able to operate and function with little, you know, interaction from the elementals. So they must have a contract or something to do it because, like you're saying, they're ripping up into the earth. And I would think for sure the earth elementals would be like, hey, you are damaging our turf. We're not going to put up with this and do something, but they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's interfering with our free will. I'm not sure. We have to learn how to treat this our home, and it's probably going to be a bumpy road the next few years or so. So hopefully we figure it out. But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it. Maybe they're not supposed to interfere. I don't know.
Yeah, they're more like watchers. And watchers always, it's like I have memories of being a watcher, and the one thing that always is like the hardest thing about the memories that I have is watching situations and being like just standing there and letting it happen and be like, you know, looking at yourself and going, why are you allowing this to happen? This shouldn't be going on or ought not to be going on. And going, it's my job to watch. and not interfere. We're not allowed to interfere. And I'm like, that's crap. And I'm like, yes, it is on both parts. It's like, and so I feel like I have not so many lifetimes as watchers because I probably didn't do it very well because I had that nature of wanting to interfere at
Right.
certain points and be like, this is just over the top. No, we're stepping in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's such a storyline premise for all Star Trek and like sci-fi shows like that, where it's like you're, you know, not supposed to interfere, and there's all the moral and ethic sort of dilemmas when it comes to that. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'm on a Deep Space Nine kick right now.
Oh, that's
I've
a good
never
one.
seen it.
Where are you at in it?
I think we're on the. I think it might be the third season.
Oh,
Um,
so you haven't gotten to the long drawn out conflict yet.
oh, just starting with the what is it? The Klingons and the Cardassians, and
Oh no, this is a different one.
oh,
This is
really?
it's a conflict that unifies one side of the wormhole with the against the other side of the wormhole.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. We won't
Yeah,
spoil it for anybody because it's not an ancient show or anything, but
I'm not wanting to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it, and so I'm like, I'm not wanting to say, oh, this happens, and then you're like, oh, well, I can now skip 3, 4, maybe 5, to season 6, maybe.
I wish. My wife won't let me skip any of them, and she won't tell me what's like the stuff I want to know. I'm like, what's going to happen with this? No, no, you'll just have to watch.
That is
So
a true hero right there.
she
Because
is
it's
she if she were any sort of TV character, she would be Spock. She totally would. She's definitely part Vulcan.
which version of Spock?
Mm,
The Leonard Nimoy Spock,
oh yeah, definitely.
The Zachary.
Leonard Nimoy all the way.
There's like 3 Spocks now in the Star Trek universe.
Oh, Leonard Nimoy's the best. OG.
Yeah, I kind of miss those and everything, but no, and it's good to go through the Star Trek series. Are you doing them in order, or are you doing them in order of they were released?
Oh, well, we're just on I have not watched any what is it? New generation or next generation. I've seen a few of the original Star Treks. This is just a one-off, the whole Deep Space Nine thing. So yeah, we're watching
Oh,
them
wow.
all in order. Yeah. I
No, you're
know.
not.
When I first well, of the Deep Space Nine, this is just that
Yeah.
universe.
I'm
But
like,
when I first met my wife, I was like, that is such nerd stuff. I am not into that. She was like, have you ever heard it? This was like 2012. She's like, have you ever heard of Game of Thrones? And I'm like, what? This
yeah.
dragon slayer stuff? What? I'm not watching this. But we did, and I got so into it. So I feel like all this stuff is like on some level channeled. It's like channeled galactic drama that's been
Well,
filtered down to us.
I will say something that may spoil a little bit, but
Oh,
not,
please do. I
and
love spoilers.
it's not about Deep Space Nine. It's about the original series. Well, one
Okay.
with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy is a friend of mine who is all about, looking into star cultures and sovereignty of the individual and, being, owning our own energy and everything. She made an observation and said, back in the 1960s, when Star Trek was being made, they did not have budget for prosthetics like masks like we do now, nor
Mm.
did they have that technology. So some of the aliens that are in that show are actual aliens in the show. They don't have a character person playing them. And so I was like, that brought that show to a whole new level. And I had to go back and rewatch and be like, can I tell the difference? Because I was like, it makes sense though, because it's like we live in a world where they're saying, disclosure is in TV shows and everything. Well, Star Trek was, out in space, interacting with cultures, and they were intermingling on the ship. And so it's like, hey, and if you go in order, it's actually Enterprise, then it's the original series, Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine kind of are at the same timeline space. And then there's like Discovery is into the future. And then they went and did Starfleet Academy, which people think goes back to the beginning, but no, it actually is the rebirth of the Federation during Discovery's show, aftermath of that show. And so, Strange New Worlds, though, that kind of actually goes in between Enterprise and the original series. And yes, you can tell I'm a Trekkie. So that's like the fluidness of it. But Star Trek really pushed the envelope, because it's like I had the innate ability of, like, when the Romulan ships or the Klingon ships or Andorian ships showed up, I was like, those are not the good guys.
Oh yeah.
And then they would be like, in the show, they would like fire on each other. I was like, yeah, see, it's like I knew it before they actually went into conflict. And it was like I had memory of seeing those ships before, but I'm like, how would I have memory of that? I'm not
Yeah, that's
in
what I'm
space.
saying.
So yeah.
That's so interesting. I mean, I feel the same way with I mean, what is it? Star Wars. Just so much
Yeah.
sci-fi, I feel like it has been channeled. So it's pretty, even like Silver Surfer and a lot of that kind of Marvel, DC sort of stuff is to some extent probably.
I agree. And there is one episode of The Next Generation, and it's not one of the time episodes, but if you ever wanted to see time travel, every show of Star Trek has a time travel element. A lot of people don't realize it, but they're actually in there. And there's an episode in The Next Generation that a shuttlecraft crash lands on this world, and this black goo has sentient life and encompasses the shuttle, to where everybody in the shuttle can't beam out and nobody can beam in. And the ironic thing is if memory serves right, the title of that episode is Skin of Evil.
Oh wow.
And where I'm going with this is, I don't know how much of disclosure, if you pay attention to it or not. And normally I talk about this on Writing Through the Unknown, but since we're talking somewhat about it, I'm just going to throw this out there for everyone. They talk about this black goo being found in the Falkland Islands that is like a malevolent synthetic goo. And I can't help but go, you have The Next Generation talking about a black goo being.
Wow.
Now we're in current world going, there's a black goo that, is the. And so could we be talking about the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah. I don't know. We live in some crazy times, huh?
We do, and so how and everybody talks about wanting to live in the Star Trek universe, and it's like I almost want to go look around. We are virtually like all intent and purposes in the Star Trek universe, in that we have flip phones. They're communicators. We can talk across the planet. The only difference is they fly in space and we still shuttle to space. And
Exactly.
so I have a feeling that's probably a good thing right now, because the way we are right now in our world, I don't think we need to be spreading that out into the galactic universe and going.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I imagine all the races are like, oh, great, the humans are coming. There goes the neighborhood.
Well, I think a big part of why people love watching Star Trek is because in the show they're already at this point of having this like utopian society with, there's zero crime, people are super respectful of each other, and there's so much diversity, and everyone kind of respects each other's cultures for the most part. But
Actually, though, I would question the zero crime bit, because they have brigs and security on the ships, and it's not always by people that are invading, or fighting, so
I guess you're
there,
right. Yeah,
there is
there are
still
some
some
people, some.
crime. It's just not as much, but there is still some crime.
Right. Well, it just seems like they've kind of figured some stuff out that we are probably in the process of figuring out right now, like polarity dramas and
Right.
tribalism, and learning how to treat our planet. Like all of this stuff is happening right now, and it's an exciting time to be here and to see this stuff, but it is really easy to kind of get sucked into like doom and gloom and drama. So very, very challenging time right now.
It is, and on that note, I think this is a perfect segue to you do work harmonizing the physical and subtle bodies. How did
Mm-hmm.
that come about, and what's your like process and getting into that with people?
Well, it started out with I got certified to be a Reiki master. So that was kind of my permission slip to start working with energy. And that was back in 20, 2019, 2020. And I would just work on myself, my friends, my dogs, and that's kind of what got me started into channeling energy and learning how to work with other people. And then, like I said, about 2 years ago, I was given this modality that I now use from my teams, and it's it really is this inner tech that I have that kind of just it's got its own intelligence, and I could work on somebody 5 days in a row, and each day the person will have a different experience because your body is in a different place each day, and it needs different stuff. And so I use it on myself every day, and I've had experiences with, I had a friend who he's in his like mid 30s, I want to say. He had an inch in diameter, like almost a golf ball sized kidney stone. And
Oh,
he didn't
wow.
have insurance at the time. And so he was super worried about how is this going to get resolved? And so I asked him if he wanted to like start practicing with me. And so we got about 4 sessions in, and he went back to the doctor to get some tests, and they did like the sonar thing with him on his kidney, and it was gone. And I was like, how did that even happen? He's like, I'm not sure, but it's not there anymore. So who knows? Like, who knows? And I was like, okay, that must have been a fluke. I can't explain that. But then I was working with another friend who had arthritis in all of his joints. And it was to the point where he had to like maintain a certain weight so that he didn't put too much weight on it because it was so painful. It's like he couldn't bike anymore. He couldn't walk very long. And I started working with him. I did 2 sessions with him, and that was about 6 months ago. He lives in Thailand. I keep in touch with him, and he keeps me posted. He's like, it's still gone. I don't know what happened, but something incredible happened. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not fully sure, but it seems to work. So, yeah, what I do is somebody can book a session or, email me and we can set something up. And then the sessions are usually about an hour and a half long. The first half an hour, I usually just have a chat with them and talk about what they want to work on, what their goals are as far as like setting intentions and like what kind of stuff we want to work with. And that in itself is like an energetic transmission, because even like right now, you and I are talking, we're also exchanging energy. So we talk for a while and then we go into it, and the energy just kind of, it turns on. I connect us all up, get us all, create a sacred space and everything. And then the energy just turns on. It usually goes for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And then when it's done, it'll just turn off. And I'm like, okay, it stopped. And yeah, it's pretty incredible.
No, that's amazing. And it's, it sounds like, I'm kind of wondering with everything that you have going on, it's like it's no wonder, the interdimensional beings and everything are like reaching out, and because we're all beacons, but it depends on your awareness. And it seems like your awareness is like, I don't want to say next level, because that, it makes it sound like, you're higher up and more attuned than others. And it's just you're more aware. And so that's the difference. You're more open to the awareness. And so I think they pick that up and are like, yeah, this is someone to talk to and someone to work with, and they're open to it and they're on the same pathway. So, yeah, let's collaborate.
Exactly. I was talking about that with a friend of mine the other day. Like, nobody needs to feel like, oh, I'm not special, I can't do this sort of stuff. Like, this is in our human blueprint. We're supposed to be able to heal ourselves. We're supposed to live longer than 70, 80 years. We're supposed to be able to work with the interdimensionals, with the Sasquatch, with the Fae. Like, this is all our planet. We're all supposed to be able to work together and work consciously with Gaia. She is her own sentient being, like, we're not just living on some rock in a meat suit, just born to work and drink beer and eat candy and die. Like, we're supposed to have like a really fun, interactive, aware, conscious experience with everyone, with the UFOs, with extraterrestrials, with everybody. So yeah, I don't feel like I'm special or anything. I've just been working on my energy for a while. That's it. I think this would happen to anybody who had the intention and, I don't know, and kind of worked on their energy, really. I think it would happen with anybody if they had good intentions.
Why does everybody always pick on candy?
I love candy. I
just
ate a bunch of candy before I came on.
Ooh, which candy?
Oh, what did I have? Okay. I made homemade pot de creme, like chocolate pudding. Earlier today. Yeah, it was pretty good.
You did better than me. I had some chewy sprees this afternoon.
Oh yeah, my wife loves sprees.
They're not bad.
I'm trying to think of what else. I love the Wiley Wallaby strawberry licorice. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Much better than the black licorice. Ugh.
Oh, yuck. Yuck. I'm sorry. I've tried. I can't do it.
I know, I'm the same way. I'm like, if it's the only thing in the house, I'll be like, okay, I'll eat it. But it's only because I don't like
Uh,
wasting food. I'm like, it's not my like. I'm not gonna enjoy this, but I can tolerate it enough to get rid of it and be like, not again.
right. Yeah, I have a short story. My mother actually passed away last April Fool's Day, so not too long ago. But we in celebration of her life, I bought some like yogurt covered pretzels and black licorice, which were her two favorite like junk food candies. I mean, she loved KFC too, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But I tried to get through that bag of licorice. I tossed it. I couldn't do it. I was like, Mom, how in the heck did you eat this stuff?
It's kind of funny because my mom passed April 22nd, and
Oh,
she was
really?
into licorice too. And
What's
oh,
up with that? Wow.
my
Yeah,
friend
no black licorice.
Stephanie,
Thank you.
yeah, like,
Well,
just
how are you doing with that? Were you close with your mom?
I was very close, and I'm doing actually really well with it because to me, I'm like, I only get upset when I really, think about the physicality aspect. And that's when
Mm,
I'll be like, oh, yeah, I miss the physicality. It hurts that I don't have the physicality,
yeah.
but because I know they're an energy form, I can still feel them, talk to them, sense them around, and interact with them in energy form on the other side. It's like, yeah, they're not dead and gone. They're just not physically here. And so that's a different process. And I'm actually in the process of writing a book about that because I'm
Wow.
in metaphysics, death in the metaphysical world is very different than mainstream world. And like the first chapter, the first section of my book, I'm like, I always like to do like when I'm doing a topic, what does mainstream define this topic as? And put the definitions in there. And I'm like, okay, this is my world. And this is what we define it as. And I was kind of laughing because I was like, my God, according to the English dictionary and the UK dictionary, and the government science department, there's like 18, 20 different definitions of death. Like one is
Wow.
slaughter. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to slaughter at the end of my life. No. That sounds like definite no, hard pass. Thank you. And
Right.
so I'm like, no wonder people are afraid to die. Cause I mean, my God, look at, how long these definitions are. And then I go to metaphysics and I'm like, well, metaphysics defines death as they take it from yoga and it's a transformation of one physical form to another. And I'm like, and I kept looking around and I was like, that's it. That's our definition. I was
Yeah.
like, one thing. And I was talking to my hairstylist about it when I first was contemplating it and trying to word it. And he goes, oh my God, I love your definition, your way, much better than ours. I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And so I'm like, if
Exactly.
I can get this into print, how many people may, pick this up and be like, you know what? I'm no longer afraid to die because that's the death I want, not this
Yes.
one or these.
Exactly.
I'm like, that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel that this stuff, this is like the real stuff that we need to start talking about because so many people it's baked into our our conscious collective psyche to be so afraid. It's such a primal fear dying, and it doesn't have to be that way, especially when like yourself, you're pretty awake and aware, but it still hurt. It still effing hurts,
Yeah.
like just like her not being there, it just sucks, and so I feel like the more we can talk about stuff like this, it definitely helps. I know it does. I personally, my mother and I had a very tumultuous relationship. She was a narcissist, and I know people throw that word around loosey goosey, but like she was like definitely narcissistic, and so it was really tough, and I was afraid of my mother for a very long time, and I'm still working through that. It's weird because she's in a different form now, and I communicate with her, and but I'm still afraid of like the boundary pushing, and like the way that she treated me in life. And so it's like, wait a second, this person is no longer who they are. They're basically their higher selves now. And so you got to just change your whole mindset about it. And yeah, it's tough. Whether you were really close and you missed that physicality and, being able to talk to them physically a lot and hang out, or you were just like, I was kind of scared of you back then, and I'm still a little bit scared of you, but in a different way.
Right.
It's definitely a process.
Well, and
So I feel for you.
yeah, and I even put in the section, like, there's a chapter of like family deaths, and I'm like, here are the pets. They were the first ones to go, and here's how their deaths impacted me.
Hmm.
Then I put in chronological order the family members that were close to me and how, or should be close to me. I'll put it that way, and how that impacted me. And what I mean by that is I had my mom's parents, my grandparents that were a part of my life. They chose to keep me in their lives and interact. Then I had my dad's parents who I would talk some, like, with his dad, my grandfather, at certain points. It was like he would call for, about something. So, but the grandmother, I even have a hard time saying that because it was like there was nothing there. And so when he died, I share the story around when how he died and how I knew about it and everything. And then the grandmother, it's like I was told after the fact. I didn't even know when she originally died. And I'm like, I have not shed a tear for this woman,
Hmm.
and that's okay. I don't feel a lot of loss for this person, and that's okay. We don't have to. And that's one of the other things that I'm like trying to bring awareness to is just because someone is, blood relation and you have these societal what you should do, like, and not do in there, it doesn't make them right or wrong. And so if you don't want to do them, don't.
Yeah.
There is no norms dealing with this. And so if your norm is this person's never been around, don't fake an emotional response, because it actually, I think people look at that and are like, that's where you hear people going, why is that person doing that? That it's so fake. That person is so fake. They don't really, you know, think this or do that. They were never around. And so, everything is seen and it's like optics.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, don't fake it. Just don't have an emotional response to it if you really don't, because it comes off wrong in
Right.
reality.
Yeah. You don't need to do anything out of guilt like that, like it doesn't, I don't think it really affects the person who's passed either way. It's better for you to just be sincere and genuine.
I agree. And I'm toying with another section for the book or not. So keep your eyes out. I'll let you know when that book releases, because
Awesome.
I don't even fully know what I'm putting in the book yet. But the ironic thing is the last two deaths that have happened to me that impact me that I'm writing about are actually my dad in 2023 and my mom 2026. So it's like those are the last two, the most current. And it's like, oh, yeah. So it's like once I can get through writing those, then it's like, okay, I think it'll be all right. And I will even share this with you all is writing about certain family members. I was crying while writing the story of what I remembered doing with them, and the memories that I have of them and how their loss impacted me. But I will say again, in full honesty, when I wrote about my one grandmother, it's like no emotional whatsoever. It was just data being put on a page.
Yeah. Well, I think writing that book is just as cathartic for you as it would be for someone who's grieving, Like it was, what gave you the idea to write the book?
I had a feeling like, growing up metaphysical, which I'm sure doing it as well, we react differently to scenarios and other events. And so I was like looking at life and how it unfolds, and I was like, everyone keeps asking me, like, are you okay? Are you really okay? And it's like, because I know where they're coming from. They're coming from a more mainstream area. And so it's like, yeah, I know the way I'm acting is not conforming with that. And so it is confusing to you to see me, like, I mean, this is May and I'm smiling and laughing on some shows. And it's like, you should be in deep grief, but the deep grief is different for me. And so that's where I'm hoping in writing this book, it's like people get another insight into me and how my world is, so to speak. And so have a more understanding of me and going, okay, so what he's actually doing is the process for him. And he is doing what he needs to be doing and not being judged by people, going, you know, you should maybe take a break from doing things.
You should cry
You know,
more. You should do this.
do
You should do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just, look at it as going, here's a way that I can share a part of me with the reader and going, you know, here's, what I was brought up to, what I chose for myself. Maybe you can choose it too, or maybe you like, where you're at and your beliefs of it. So either way, it's the right answer. And I'm always very careful in my books to never state this is what something is, because I know the second I do that, a week, a month, a day later, it's going to change. And I'm like, now I got to go rewrite the book because that factoid is no longer a factoid. so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to be constantly rewriting books. And so I'm like, this is my information. This is how I gathered it. This is how I interpret it. What do you think is the conclusion? And it's like, boom, I push it off on them because not only, am I wanting you to think about it and, look at it, but I don't want you to sit there and go, oh, he said this is what it is. Because if it changes, I haven't said that, so I don't have to rewrite anything. I can just verbally say, yes, this idea has changed now.
You won't
But
get
it
a bunch
doesn't.
of mail being like, "Oh, you said it was this way and it's not." Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
And, it's freedom to change because it's not cast. And
Yeah,
so,
I love that. I love being able to change my mind all the time. That's my wife gets annoyed because, she is like Spock and she loves logic and order, and I'm so just like, "Oh, well, I feel totally differently this about this subject today, and maybe next week I'll have a different opinion on it." And that's totally fine, and that's my prerogative. So,
so
deal.
here's something you can say to her, and
Mm,
I'd love to hear her reaction to it is logic is evolving.
mm.
And,
I'll pass it along. I'll see what she says.
because it's like, yeah, everybody thinks, oh, because something's in a book, logically, this is how it works. Mathematics works this way. How much has mathematics been rewritten?
Mm,
Because we're
yeah.
now finding out it doesn't work that way, or
Right.
contradictions. And so it's like, yeah, if is logic evolution based, or is logic just cast in stone? Because logic is also based on philosophy.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, seeing as how we're constantly building our reality as we speak and as we experience and look and focus our intentions and whatnot, it's like we're kind of building the road as we're walking. And so I think it's got to be, I think logic totally evolves. Everything
Yeah.
evolves. Change is the only constant, right?
Yeah, and have you guys seen the movie Tron Evolution?
I've seen the original Tron. I think that's it.
You should watch Tron Evolution because it deals with the computer digital world, and there's a notion in there that I think your wife may get triggered by, because it's poking at the logic and going, hey, here's another jab at, can we truly live in pure logic, or
No.
does logic not fully work because it's too confining?
Right. Well, I mean, the whole theory of the zeta reticuli, the grays, how they're what like a future version of us that purely embraced logic, and they modified themselves so much that they kind of lost their ability to reproduce naturally.
Yeah,
And so like that they kind of their race is like dying out, and that's why they're coming back here for genetic material because logic. It's everything. So for me, I feel like every my whole life is about bringing what has not been in balance into balance. You've got the divine feminine and the masculine and the polarities into unification. And I'm all about unity consciousness. And so yeah, for me it's about bringing it all back into the heart, all back into balance. And you can't just focus up in here all the time, and you can't just always be in your emotions either. That's what we're here to do. We're here to master this stuff.
yeah,
So
Mm,
we're all learning at the same time. it's
yeah.
all a big
But
It's all a big sandbox. She can
Here's
have
a
her
concept.
opinions, and
Yeah,
you know,
and here's a
I love arguing with her though. It's great.
yeah. Well, here's one you can use that I self-taught myself, and somebody may say somebody wrote about it, but I never read it. I just created it on my own. Was we look at words, and like we were kind of talking about in transparency, like the cations, like how we're merging words and creating new words and everything. And I looked at like emotion, and I was like, what really is emotion? Because we define it as like happy, sad, love, hate, fear. But those are just words, and they're not really the emotion. The emotion is the frequency and the energy in motion. And so I was like, oh, take the E off of emotion, fill it back up with energy, and it's energy motion is emotion. And I was like, that makes total sense because it's our energy that's giving off. And so, when I'm in like high energy, like happy energy, people around me start like getting it, and it's like it kind of downloads into their field, and their field kind of goes, hey, we like this. And you're like, hey, I like this, it feels good to be like this. And then you separate, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, where did that go? Because it's like you don't realize it's an external force coming in, so to speak, and it's like temporarily raising you up to go, hey, look, this is where you could be.
Yeah.
Now we're going to put you back where you are. Do you want to get up here? Or do you want to stay where you are? And some people are like, or, the other adverse is being, happy and high energy. Some people will get uncomfortable going, this is too happy. I don't like this high vibrational happy state. And so they want to go back down and be like, I'm more comfortable here. So let me stay here. And then they're at choice, and you'll notice the energy kind of dwarfs off them. Not by you doing anything. Their energy overtakes it, and it's like, nope, this is our field. This is our, this is who we are. Cool. We're not in it to like energetically like ping pong and be like, you're gonna now become happy because I'm happy. No, it's just the energy friction either bleeds through or it doesn't. And that's what life is about, is, that's the energy in motion, is what are we projecting out? What are we taking in?
Exactly. Yeah, I love how you mentioned about people getting triggered by someone's high vibes. I've definitely I have experienced that. I've been on both sides of that. When you're in kind of a lower state, you're in a crabby mood, or something's going on, and then you see another person you come into contact and they're just super happy and in a great place, and you're just like, ugh, get out of my face, get out of my field. Like it totally triggers you, and it's true. And I feel like the more that people kind of raise up in their frequency and gain awareness, and are working on themselves, doing shadow work and looking at their inner wounds and healing and alchemizing, that raises your vibration naturally. And I feel like that's kind of why a lot of people lose old friendships or old connections at some point. I mean, I know that's happened to me in the past few years. You kind of just a lot of friendships just kind of fall away. And it's just because there's nothing wrong. It's not good or bad. You're just not in resonance anymore.
Right.
And so that's just everything's energy and vibration. And if you don't vibe with it, you're not going to want to be around it. So,
Yeah, and I have no qualms with, people will ask me, like, how can you be like really down and then the next day be like, or that same day, like totally 180 and raise your vibration up? And it's like, one is through laughter, but two is I realize, media has its purposes. It's not always, because it is a program and you are programming yourself by watching things. But I watch shows, and I will admit, I have a lot of the cartoons that I grew up with in the 80s on DVD. And when I get super like low and I'm like, it's like I'm like struggling to find my smile and just be like, where's, what's there to be happy about? I will
where's
pop
magic?
that DVD in, watch the cartoon, and be like, and notice like slowly going, laughing at something and going, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember. And it's like all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm back to normal. My energy
Mm.
levels are back up. And so there's nothing wrong with watching cartoons or anime or comedy shows. I mean, I watch Hogan's Heroes from the 60s and
Right.
find the humor in them. Not everybody can. And so what I'm sharing is, this works for me, may not work for you, but the idea is you find what makes you happy and what you remember being happy about, and watching that. It's like we use the term in Reiki of imprinting, where it's like you take a happy thought and you imprint it in, and so you can always go back to it. Well, that's what watching these are, like watching a comedy is you're
Yeah.
going back to when you were laughing and happy and high energy, and it brings your body back. It doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to be a long process of, like, we think of shadow work as being this long, daunting process. That actually
Slog.
is doing shadow work, is, watching this comedy, bringing yourself back up. That's a
Yeah,
form of shadow work.
for sure. For sure. What are we watching right now? So we got Deep Space Nine, and we're watching the Rockford Files,
I
and
remember
just
that.
yeah, just these like
Yeah.
old kind of. We watch a lot of anime, a lot of cartoons that we're watching. We watched Fraggle Rock last night.
I just got Fraggle Rock.
Oh yeah, so great. I love it. It's like, I mean, there is this like nostalgic aspect to it as well, but it's like you said that what will raise your frequency faster and higher than anything else is laughter. I mean, that's what laughing yoga is about. You just get in a group with people and you just start laughing and you instantly just feel so much better. And yeah, I found that I mean, shadow work, dude, I've been doing so much shadow work and ancestral healing the past 2 years that yeah, sometimes you really need a break and you just need to watch something funny because
Yeah.
it's really intense work. It's really like I have sat in my tub and cried for hours. It's not fun a lot of the time, but at the same time you feel so much better when you're able to get to that point where you can see your triggers and see your wounded motivations more in the moment instead of just like reacting to everything, instead of like ping-ponging
Right.
off of everything and feeling like an emotional wreck. You can kind of see yourself and watch yourself from the outside and be like, "Oh yeah, that's why you got triggered was because of this." And to have compassion for yourself is the biggest part. But yeah, it's been a really intense year. I've been doing a lot of inner work, and if it weren't for cartoons and like Fraggle Rock and the Muppet movies and stuff, I would be probably a much more serious person, and I'm over that. I don't want to be serious anymore.
No, I know. And like last night on one of my episodes, we were talking about, keeping your energy in high vibes. And in a couple of channeling sessions that I had on my show with Laura, they were talking about, you need to keep your energies high, keep raising your energies, and laughter, dancing, jumping jacks, these are all forms,
Yeah.
of getting yourself active and, raising your vibration. And I was talking with my guest last night, Nikki, and we were, and I pointed out that, I can message her 4 words and she will spend a month laughing because she already has about this. And it's like, and just the thought of, what those 4 words are sends her into a laughter fit. And I start laughing because she's laughing, and she sends me messages like, yeah, I'm still laughing over this, or we kind of will evolve it and make it a story now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, just making each other laugh over a simple comment. And she was like, yeah, you can say it. And so we were laughing about the fact that one day you'll get this because it kind of references back to our childhood. But I said to her, I was like, oh, booyah to the mooyah. And she just started laughing and was like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. And she's like, I can't stop laughing about it. And I'm like, what a gift to, give to somebody of, so whenever she's like gets upset, she can play the video or see the words and just start laughing again. And it's like, yeah, it's a healing aspect. And it only took me like a few seconds to say those 4 words. So
Exactly.
what we were getting as, they don't have to be elaborate gestures. It can take a second to change someone's world.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I remember times where I've been in the grocery store or, out and about and just kind of up in my head and, in a not great place. And someone will just make eye contact with you and just smile.
Yeah.
And that can change everything. That can change your whole day. And yeah, it doesn't take a lot. So I mean, I try if I can remember it in my perimenopausal brain, if I can remember to try to make somebody smile once a day. I do. Or, another good thing that I've been doing lately is very first thing when I wake up is meditating on gratitude, because that's a big one for me. I have in the past struggled with having gratitude for being here. Just having this like Debbie Downer kind of half empty glass, kind of like, why the heck am I even here? This place sucks sort of mentality in the
Oh,
past.
yeah.
And yeah, it's always, for some reason, gratitude has always been kind of a challenge for me. So I've made it a practice to just sit for half an hour in my bed and just meditate on gratitude and try to just emanate that frequency out. And some days it's super easy. Some days it's, not super easy, but I feel like it really does set the tone for the day. It really helps to focus on
Yeah.
the positive when you wake up, rather than like, oh, my aching back. Oh, I have all this stuff I have to do today. Oh, you know.
Yeah, and
So
we actually, on the last channeling session I did with Laura Ferguson, aka Starseed Lolo, the group that was coming through, they were like, you know, you also raise your vibration, and we're noticing that you and Laura do this. This is them talking, and they say, you say thank you to a lot of people. You bring gratitude into the world, and that raises vibration. That simple act,
yeah.
because it's your heart space coming out. And yes, it's different if, and I pointed that out on a talk with someone that if you go, like if I was to say, Gina, thank you, and I'm coming from a place of this is an obligation, it kind of fell flat. And you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if I come from my heart space and I'm like, hey, thank you, truly, thank you, it hits. And there's like a
Mhm.
connection. And it's like, hey, I didn't realize this was happening. Wow. I'm so glad that they're, seeing this and that, it's like a validation almost for you. What you're putting out is being perceived the way you want it to. And so it's like, hey, that's a really cool feeling. It raises the vibration. And so it's simple things. And that's why I say you got to be careful, though, where it's coming from, because if you go and, you start doing gratitude every day to people because Gina and I said, this will raise your vibration, it's not going to work because you're doing it out of obligation and like feeling like you have to. You have to genuinely be there. You have to
Mm.
genuinely feel it. And when that expresses, you'll feel it yourself because, like you're saying, a simple thank you and making someone smile or be like, oh, and see their surprise that you're thanking them. And they're like, well, thank you.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah,
it's,
people love that.
yeah, there's a great feeling. There's like a euphoria that comes off of it. And the best thing about it is it's completely free. You don't have to pay for this euphoria experience. You
Yeah,
get it for free.
exactly. Just I mean, I don't know, it's so easy. Just treat people how you would like to be treated. I think somebody smart said that once,
Yeah,
right? Treat
I'm
others
sure
as you would like
somebody had
to.
to.
Somebody in some book somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just about treating others with respect and lifting each other up when we can. And yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful for the future.
I am too. And, there are moments like you say when, we're looking at the world and we just get down. It's like there are days that I look and I'll be honest, I'll be like, humanity's doomed. If this is the best that we can come up with now, is where we're at, is yeah, we're doomed as a species. But then I encounter
That's the
people that
easy
are
route.
raising, and saying gratitude about something, a simple thank you. I'm like, that person just totally changed my perspective, and there is hope for humanity.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
power of it.
exactly. I mean, we're having great conversations like this, and we're not the only ones. I know
Yeah,
we're not. People genuinely want to be. I think that's one of the core wounds of humanity is that people don't feel like they are truly heard or seen and that or understood. I think that's what everybody on all sides of all the, this wing, that wing, whatever team you play for, that's the commonality. Everyone just wants to be heard and to be understood. And I think if we can try to do that a little bit more with each other, I think it goes a really long way.
yeah. And an example is I would go to a fast food place with my mom doing drive through because we had just done training at the gym, and so we had to get protein within an hour to maintain what we did, is what the trainers told us. And so we would pull through, and I would say thank you, and the guy would just hand me the stuff and be like, close the window. I was like, okay. And I could have easily said, well, he's not ready for it, whatever. But the next time we went through, I said thank you, and he just kind of like shook his head a little. So I was like, hey, that's progress. Next time, I said, thank you. And he was like, what? And I said, "Oh, I was just saying thank you." He goes, "Oh, thanks. You're welcome." And that, and it was like I could see a change in that person over time
Mm.
of, this person probably, is sitting there and has seen maybe 100 people in a day,
Yeah.
and nobody says a word to him. And so he's like, "Oh, you're actually talking to me? Oh, you actually, talk." And I make an effort with the people in the drive-through windows when I needing to get something through there. I'm like, "Hey, thank you, and I hope you have a great day." If it's in the morning, and they're like, "Yeah, you too." And it's like I can see the smile, and I'm like, "Yeah, I probably just gave that person a boost that'll help them get through the day."
Yeah.
Just
Honestly, I
because.
think so.
And the next person that comes through, may get, be somebody grumpy or in the same place too and saying thank you. And it's like it'll just proceed, like pay it forward, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it'll be like a trend. And, because everybody likes to be appreciated and acknowledged. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, I used to do this a lot. Would be is, the drive through person, your mind and mentality is this is this person's job. They're not really interested in me. They're just interested in getting through the day. So you don't talk to them. You just ignore them because you're like, yeah, they're going to ignore me. So why make the effort? But then it's like something switched in me and I was like, no, this is a person.
Yeah.
And if I was in that role, I would, appreciate someone saying a simple thank you, 2 words. It's not that hard. But
Recognizing your humanity. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So we are actually a little bit over the hour and a half mark. And so where
Oh,
can
wow.
people get a hold of you to, if they have questions or if they want to, you know, work on some stuff with you?
Well, I'm building my website right now, so that won't be up for a little while. But I have a YouTube channel called Ether Flows Podcast, and that's with an A. It's AE Ether Flows. You can get a hold of me on there. That I have like my link tree and my Gmail email address. If you want to set up a session, just write me and we can totally set something up. Otherwise, I think almost 65 videos, like collaborations and interviews and lives and all sorts of stuff. Some really amazing people. I've had some really incredible conversations. So if anybody feels like reaching out, feel free. And I would love to, I mean, even if you want to be on the show, if you've had some cool experiences or just want to talk, that too. Yes, absolutely. We're going to have you on there for sure. But yeah, that's where to reach me. And
Yeah. So
yeah.
I just put up
Oh,
the
thank you.
link tree and the YouTube, which I
Awesome.
got from the description of the episode. So anybody watching, they are links in the description so you can copy and paste. So,
Fantastic. We
all
didn't
right.
even talk about Sasquatch. I have to come on again. I have
We,
a whole bullet point list of all of my experiences. I didn't even talk about them.
well, we
But
will
yeah.
definitely, make that happen. And
All
I
right.
might bring you on the other show for that one. Just, give a flavor to both audiences, both shows,
Okay.
because both have their merits and are super cool. And I'm kind of proud of both of them. So why
As
not
you
use
should be.
them?
Just having one YouTube channel it's a lot of work. It's a lot of editing depending. Oh my gosh. How do you do it? I don't have the energy for all that. All my shows are
Well,
recorded though, so I do a lot of I sit in editing quite a lot. But
I don't edit.
Oh, that's good.
I like the live and
Yeah.
humanic errors that come through, but
I keep
right
mine
now
as
I'm able
organic
to.
as I can.
Yeah, right now I can do it because I have my 2 shows that are active, and one show is being formulated and maybe starting next month up, and I'll have a part-time role in it, and somebody else hosts that show, and I co-host with a friend and we have a guest host that kind of joined the team, and so we'll see if he's coming back. And we started now talking about, are we ready in our lives where we are to start the show back up and to do it? And so we'll see. And so that's how I'm able to do. I mean, everything is not everything is active all at the same time, and so there's a blessing in that. And they're
Yeah.
on different frequencies, and so I do more of these 2 shows because it's my schedule, and when I'm on other people's schedules, I just pop in when I can. And so that's where I get to make all these appearances. And I'm like, I have fun with it because I don't have to prep anything. I just show up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it's been really fun talking to you, Michael. I'm
Yes.
honored that you had me on your show. It's great to meet another heart-centered individual.
Yes. And I will verbally say this and I will write this to Michelle Heaton. I thank you for putting us together and
Yeah. It was
recommending us
great.
to each other because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll do it again.
Yeah, because I'm noticing the Egyptian behind you, the Organite, and the clown mask. I'm not
Yes.
gonna ask about
And the what? What else are
the
you looking at?
clown dummy mask that's up there. I'm like, I'm not gonna
Oh,
ask
that
about.
those guys? I got
Oh,
those
there's
in
2 of them. Oh,
oh yeah, yeah. I used to live in Chinatown in Seattle and I got those masks there. I used to
oh, okay.
yeah. Yeah.
The
So they're
the
like
one just looked like the mask like you see on those the puppets that people use, and
yeah, I
that's
don't
why I was
honestly,
thinking.
I don't even they were just weird, so I got them because I thought they were funny, but 10 years later, somehow I still have them. But the
Yeah,
Organite is actually made by my friend Rion. He has a website called Team Light and he makes incredible products. So if anybody's interested in
very
Organite,
cool.
that's they can check it out.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, but I'm thinking I'm probably off because I recognize the binder of the black with the yellow writing with the yellow tab on the top was always the book for dummies, like something for dummies, and I always thought that
Oh
was the
yeah.
funniest title.
Well, I don't want to call myself a dummy or anything, but sometimes you need that level of education. So yeah, I
Yeah,
have a couple.
no, so thank you, and I will leave you with one message as we're wrapping up that I like to leave all of my guests with, and that is, and I'm gonna scoot myself over because I noticed last night. It's like when I went to do it, I was like, "Oh, I was partially on screen and partially blocked by my name." But it is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for
Oh,
what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, felt, and heard, and so appreciated.
aw, thanks. See, I felt that one. Right back at you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So make sure you follow along her pages and you follow along my. Why am I saying pages? It's YouTube. It's not a page. The channels, because you never know when I may be making an appearance on her show or she may be back on one of my shows. So if you've been
That's true.
enjoying it, make sure
You
you
might as well
follow
just
along.
subscribe.
Yeah. Save
All
yourself
right.
the time.
Exactly.
And with that, we are going to say goodnight to everyone. Make it a wonderful evening, and we will see you next week for new shows. And check out Gina's show for whenever they are. I honestly don't know,
Every
but
week on the
oh,
weekends.
on the weekends, even better.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we say adieu. And I don't know why I just went foreign language on everyone, but sure, why not? I think that's
Adios,
French,
my
isn't it?
friends. I think
Isn't
so, yeah.
adieu French?
Yeah. Maybe it's one of your past lives coming out. Who knows?
There you go. Adieu, ciao, ting tong day. I remember that from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh my gosh. Blast from the past.
Yep. So, yeah, adios. So, hasta luego, many different ways. Or, as the Hawaiians, I love this about them, aloha, which means hello and goodbye. So, you never know what they're saying to you.
Aloha, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening to us and hanging out. It was great.
Yeah. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.